YouTube, Callum here, back with another deck profile, and I'm bringing you the other VSPO deck in our collection. As mentioned, and you've probably seen from Jason's video of Emma, I have Beni Yakumo, and honestly, I love this deck. It's so good. Yeah, well, let's just get on with it, shall we? So, Grade 0. The first map, Beni Yakumo. Oh, very nice. Next up, for the grade 1, we have Newcastle Lord Beni Yakumo. So, skill. Continuous, if your Vanguard is VSPO, this card gains all the following abilities. When this unit is rode upon by a grade 2 of Beni Yakumo, you get to call it to Rearguard Circle. Then, when this unit attacks or boosts, this unit gains power plus 5k during that battle. At the end of the battle, put this unit into soul. This effect is mandatory. So, this grade 1, for those who have remembered Draggled, this is the same as Dual Core Dragon, where you call it out, gains 5k power, and it goes back to soul. So, it's nice, especially for the grade 2 turn when you can get multi-attacks. Next up, we have the grade 2, and that is Queen followed by followers, Beni Yakumo. So the skill goes as follows. VSPO Vanguard gains all the following. When this unit is rode upon by a grade 3 card with Beni Yakumo in its card name, search your deck for up to one Kurumi Noah in its card name and call it to the rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. Then on the rearguard skill, when this unit is placed on rearguard, which doesn't have to be from hand, soul, it could just be placed, put a card from hand to soul, you draw a card, and gains 5k power, which is quite nice. And for those wondering how you can get it out, well, that's where the grade 3 comes in. Sweet Night Blood Moon Beni Yakumo. So, what does she do? At the beginning of your battle phase, choose one of your opponent's vanguards, and it gets power minus 5k. Yeah, that's right, minus 5k. This already has Velstra gimmicks to it, which is quite nice. Until the end of turn for every 5 cards in your soul, which, to be honest, by turn of grade 3, you've easily got 5. Easily. And that'll be through via supports, which I'll go through for my build. And then if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards and puts it to soul. Which is quite nice, because you could shut down quite a few decks if the key card has to be on the rear guard circle and they can't get it back from drop or soul. So, her other skill is when this unit attacks, you counterblast one and perform all the following based on the number of cards in your soul. 4 or more, you get to choose up to one card from soul and call it to rearguard. And that's where you could take advantage of her, calling it and giving it 5k, making powerful numbers. Then, if you have 9 or more, this unit gets +1 drive, which is quite nice. And then 13 or more, this unit gets +1 critical until the end of that battle. So, when they revealed this, there were loads of comments, and I'd be inclined to agree. She is basically a much better Barrow Magnus, and incorporating skills like the Draggled and the grade 1 skill. Velstra's -5, but the requirement is quite easy to meet, really. So, moving on from the ride line onto my grade 3s. Obviously, we're running the playset of Sweet Night, Blood Moon, because it's Persona Rides. Don't really need to cover that. Then I'm running 2 copies of Pandemonium Tactics. Now, the only reason I am running Pandemonium Tactics is just for the Soul Charge 4. Especially if it's on, like, first turn grade 3, and you can just play Pandemonium Tactics. You can get straight into their 4-card Soul, which makes it quite easy to prop the skill. So next up are the other copies of grade 2 Beni, just so a good chance to pick a board. So yeah. So this deck revolves around so much soul manipulation and a little bit of drop. And we're going into that with the new grade 2, which is Kurumi Noah, but its full name is Sugar Nuts Kurumi Noah. So, if your Vanguard is V-Spur, this card gains all the following. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this may cost be paid with an Energy Blast 3. So this basically has the same skill as Todo Kogoro from Emma, but the skill tweaks a little. So it fetches out the grade 1 plushie for the Dark States version, which is the same as Toto getting the chicken one. Secondary skill is if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and your soul has 2 or more Fancy Devil Army Roro, it gains plus 10, which is quite nice considering it can be 20k without Persona, 30k with Persona, and that's without the boosts. Moving on with my grade 2s, I have 3 copies of Metal Vara. So you're probably wondering why I'm running Metal Vara, and it's simply because of the putting a card from drop to soul, and you're more than likely easily from just the right line alone you'll have the different grades to give you the 10k power. And like I said, that's a 20k without Persona Ride, 30 with Persona Ride from its skill. I mean, yes, it's Counterblast heavy, but it can work because I'm running 3 copies of Selfish Engraver. So it has an on-hit that allows you to soul charge 1, but if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, at the end of the battle it's boosted, you put this to soul and counter charge 1. And because this deck is very Counterblast heavy, thanks to Beni, Pandemonium, and that, it does make it quite challenging. Next up, I have 4 copies of Indicate Arrow Dragon. Now, the only reason I'm running this is basically the early game soul build-up, because basically you flip the top card, and if there are no cards with the same name in your soul, you get to soul charge that card. Which, yes, is very painful when it comes to triggers, but it's the early game soul. And like I said in Jason's video with Emma, on my first grade 3 turn, I was able to proc everything very easily just from these skills. So moving on to the grade 1s, we have the other 3 copies of Newcastle Lord. I don't really need to cover too much into that because we've already read the skills. Next up is the support card that comes with Kurumi Noah, the plushie. And that is Fancy Devil Army Roro. That's the only reason I didn't prop them, because that is literally just Roro, like Roro, like the boy. So Roro's is on place on rear guard. Choose a card from your drop, put it into soul, which is quite nice. It allows you to manipulate your drop. And at the end of the battle, this unit boosted Sugar Nuts to Kurumi Noah. You put the column in, but basically you put Roro and Kurumi into soul, and you get to draw a card, which is quite nice. It's the draw power. The draw power is quite nice, especially early mid game. But what's interesting is that you can basically do Kurumi and Roro skill first, shove it to the rear guard circle, and then do Beni's attack skill, because Beni's skill activates on the attack. And just so it's clarified for those who didn't know about this, is if you are at 13 cards in soul when you attack with Beni, but you have to call something out, you still proc the full effects, because in terms of timing, you get all the abilities resolved first because you don't call yet, because you have to activate the abilities first. So yeah, moving on, I'm running 1 copy of Brother Soul, simply because, like I said for Pandemonium, it's the first turn, like grade 1, soul charge 2. It's an early soul build. But, I mean, I've only used this once, really. But if you get it early, brilliant. Next up, I'm running 2 Flaming Pony. Now, against Emma, this is the worst card to have in the deck, and I figured it out for myself since it binds itself. But otherwise, bind, soul charge 2. It's great early game if it's in the soul to accumulate ready for grade 3 Beni. Next up is 4 PGs. Obviously, I don't have many effects because I have other Dark State decks, which a lot of you know is Astra Unica. I do also have Venus Luquier, which I will also be doing a deck profile for. So yeah, don't need to go too much into them. Next up, I have the typical 4 heals, if I can just grab them. So this deck was a bit of a makeshift with all the spares I had left over when I was building this, because like I said, I have that many Dark State decks. 1 effect draw. 5 crits. 4 of the Dark States of generic crits, and then the new Cray Elemental one. And then I have 3 front triggers, because you can easily build a board. It's very easy to build a board, so having that extra 10k in the front row is quite nice. And to finish it off, I am trying out the new Spiritual King of Bright Sky, Merid Zandalia. I have butchered that, I know. Do not hate me for it. So, what does this new OT do? So, you reveal it, you get the 100 million, and you draw. So, additional effect, you draw up to 1 card for every 2 of your opponent's open rearguard circles in total of their rearguard and guardian, and then you retire all your opponent's rearguards and guardians. So, what this means is, if they haven't dropped a PG, but they made it an over-triggered pass to say, this skill will, let's say they have 4 open rearguard circles, that allows you to draw 2 cards because you're drawing 1 for every 2. Then once you've drawn from the skill, you then retire all your opponent's rearguards on and the guardian circles, which means if they've made an OT to pass on the guardian circle, this basically removes all of that, so the Vanguard then hits, which means you can give the 100 million to the rearguard. Now, if they dropped a PG, even if you retire the PG card, the skill has still resolved, which means that it will not hit. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I would probably also play either the night one, or the blue, or the dark stage one, honestly, in this. But I'm quite enjoying using the white one, the light one, simply because of the extra draw power this deck can make from the other cards. So that's pretty much it. I know it's a very short one, but it's a case of just speed through these. I mean, there's not really much else to talk about. I mean, in my honest opinion, running this as a Dark States deck compared to Vispo is much nicer, simply because it gives you more of a variety of a build. Because, like I said in MR, with Vispo, you have to feel restricted to a mirror match near enough all the time, because you're all running the same cards. Whereas, at least running it as a Dark States deck, it gives you that whole variety to let you exceed the 13 faster. I mean, ideally, a comfortable soul count number for Beni is 15. Now, I know that means Callum but only needs 13 skill. Yes, however, if you have 15 cards in soul, you minus 15,000 to your opponent's Vanguard. So that's minus 2k to your opponent's Vanguard. Just think of Velshra. The higher he can hit, the more shield he has to drop. So when you think that this with 15k makes it so if they drop a crit trigger, you're like, well, that puts you back to normal. I'm still hitting you in the face. So having 15 is pretty much a happy number. Otherwise, try and stay around the 13, because then it's still the minus 10k. Because even if they put a trigger down, it's still going to hit, or it's going to make it a 1 to pass. So yeah, try and aim for 15. I mean, there'll be some other variations out there, but I've not had any issues with this. I mean, I've struggled against Emma because of the drop bind mechanic, which really hits hard with this. However, this can still, and I've noticed it as well, and you'll find that other content creators will agree that are proxying this, i.e. shout out to Philip from Top Deck Heroes, when him and his team were proxying out the Vispo of Beni versus the Lyrical. As said, they both hit, all the Vispos hit like trucks, and I'm inclined to agree. So yeah, that is Beni Yakumo. I hope you like that. I will be working on getting Venus Luque done, so you can enjoy that one for any Luque fans out there. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.